So I'm not an expert on your body. You're an expert on your body. All right, that's really important to remember, whether you're talking about sex or medical or anything. So you can disagree with anything I say. Grab the pieces that apply to your body, and run with it. And I'm not the expert on your partner's body. They can veto anything I say as well, which is really important to remember. I may talk about the kinds of sex you don't necessarily have. I may talk about gay sex and you're straight. Or I may talk about anal sex and you're like, my ass is an X only, right? It's okay, I'm not going to put anything in your ass tonight, I promise. But I may talk about anal sex before the night's over. So, stay with me, because the number one way we learn anything in life, whether it's science or politics or religion or anything, is through gossip and conversation. So the more information you have, the better sex educator you are in your life. And we're all sex educators on some level, if we choose to be. So if I'm talking about something that doesn't apply to your body or the kinds of sex you have, stay with me, because you may be able to pass that on to somebody that you care about at some point. So, oh, I'm missing something. Hold on. Hey, Diana, can you help me with something? I have a bag back here with a pink folder in it, and it has my anatomy charts. That's disastrous. How can I do this without showing you my pussy? Okay. Yeah, that's it. And that's it. You got it. I'll take that pink one. So the female body is so simple and so beautiful, and the world would like you to think that there are some deep secrets that you can't know or you don't know. If you can stand at the newsstand and look at the magazines and things, they're like someone else is having an orgasm and you're not, Like they act like there's these deep down secrets. There really isn't much that we know today about the human body that we haven't known for 2,000 years. And there are no secrets. It's just a matter of when you get a chance to learn about it. So I'm going to start by showing you this, and I hope some of you will recognize it, perhaps. Right? So this is one female body. I like to start right here with the clitoris. I like to call it the center of the fucking universe. All right? Right there. Almost every single woman can have an orgasm by touching her clitoris, all right? By rubbing it with usually 2 finger pads, then a circular motion up and down, a little to the left, a little to the right. But that is a nerve center. 8,000 nerve endings coming together at that one point. So it's a really major part of the female body. And when you look at this picture, I also want to make sure that you recognize that your body shouldn't look like this, or her body shouldn't look like this. This one in particular is very symmetrical from left to right, right? Most people have one bigger lip and one smaller lip, or bigger inner lips and smaller outer lips, or some combination of that. However your pussy looks, it's perfect. Congratulations. I like to make that really clear, because this picture is really misleading because it looks so symmetrical from left to right, like a mirror image. And most people don't look like that at all. Now, as I continue to talk about the clitoris, I said almost every single woman can have an orgasm through her clitoris, but not every woman will. And my studies show about 1 in 12, 1 in 15 women will not have an orgasm through her clitoris. And she will listen to her friends, and she will read books, and she will watch pornography, and she will, go and try and find out how everybody else is having an orgasm. She'll go after her clitoris with a vibrator on her fingers, and it just doesn't work. And what I've oftentimes found is that woman has had, at some point in her life, an injury to her pelvis. And it can happen to us a lot when we're young. Like we will, bump our pelvis riding a boy's bike, or on the monkey bars, or on the balance beam, or something like that, but we'll get knocked in our pelvis. And, she may have needed stitches, she may not have needed stitches. She may have seen a doctor, she may not have seen a doctor. But anywhere in the body where there's that much nerves coming together, think about your knees, or your fingers, or your feet. What happens when you get an injury is the body very quickly forms scar tissue, right, to sort of heal and protect that area. So if it was your knee or your hand or something, the doctor would send you to physical therapy, and you would move that body part to break down scar tissue and make it so that you could maintain full range of motion. But you have an injury to the pelvis, usually what happens is you heal, if you even told anybody, you heal and then you never talk about it again. And then the body is naturally forms scar tissue in that area to protect it. And so they go and try to have an orgasm using their fingers or a vibrator or something, and they don't get the same response as everyone else. And they think their body's broken, or they think maybe it's an emotional thing or something like that. But the truth is they just need to have physical therapy, which can be really fun, right? So it takes body. And you really could use this anywhere on your body. It's just a great massager. But she uses it like physical therapy. So she'll spend 2 or 3 minutes with it pressed up against her pelvis for 3 or 4 days a week for 6 to 8 weeks. And when she first starts, there's not going to be any response. But the more she uses it, the more she breaks down scar tissue. And there's orgasms on the other side of that. So if that's not your experience, and like I said, it's very possible that it's someone in this room based on the numbers alone. It could be somebody you care about. And quite often, you know, she'll tell somebody, I'm not having an orgasm. And they'll get a simple vibrator and they'll say, here, use this. This works for everybody. We never have to talk about it again. They use it once, it doesn't work, and then they think their body's broken. Like not even a sex toy will work. Or they think that sex toys are garbage or a joke, you know. But the truth is, they just have to spend some time with their body, and on the other side of that is orgasms. And so it's so cool. We just don't talk about our bodies enough, and it's such a simple fix. And if you can help somebody have a first orgasm in their life, you change their world, you know. You change their relationship with their whole body. Okay, so let's get back to the clitoris. Here we are. Right? So when you read about the clitoris, you know, online in books and magazines, they say it's the size of a pea or the size of a pearl, like that's it right there. But that's actually just the clitoral head, and most of us have a shaft that's about 1 inch long that comes up. So when you're sexually excited, you can oftentimes feel it a little to the left or a little to the right. And then there are 2 clitoral legs that come down like this. Okay? So it's shaped much more like a wishbone right there. And then the nerve endings, they go deeper into our body, up towards our navel. They go through our legs, past our butt, up our spine, into our brains. And that's how our pussies control the universe. It all starts right here at the clitoris, which is kind of awesome. Today we call it the clitoral complex. It's not a button. You know, it's not this little thing. It's deeply embedded in all of our pleasure anatomy and all of our reproductive anatomy. So it's this really cool, deep thing. And so most people are responsive that way. Now you're going to meet some people who are really, really sensitive. Every time you touch their clit, they're like, please don't do that, you know? Or they'll have an orgasm and then they'll have what we call vascular reflux, where the blood and energy is pulls back really, really quickly. And then they're like pins and needles. And again, they don't want to be touched. And in those situations, this is a very magical touch. The whole palm of the hand, like this, all right? If you have somebody who's really sensitive, this can be an amazing feeling. If you have somebody who has reflux after they orgasm, this can be an amazing feeling. Or just think about this. You want to start to have sex play, right? You put your hand on your partner like this, and you just hold it there. And you just hold it. Here, do you hear somebody in the audience? They went, oh, right? So you just hold it there. And then, you know, at a certain point, she's going to be like, can we start now? No. You just hold it there, right? And all you're doing is drawing attention and energy and blood and oxygen into the pelvis with this simple touch. It's not too much, just enough to start the anticipation. Anticipation is one of the sexiest fucking things you can have in your life, all right? So then, at a certain point, then you can pull away and start to play. Or, you know, to do this with no sexual intent whatsoever. Just to cuddle with your hand on a person's body like this can feel really amazing. So just think about this touch, it's quite magical. And you're going to see that today, because there's some really interesting toy designers now, they're actually designing toys to reach the entire clitoral complex, from clitoris to perineum, to cover the entire, you know, vulva in that sort of way. So you're seeing more toys that are kind of like this. They're also really fun if you put them inside your panties, turn it on, and then go down on your partner, because then you're getting some kind of sensation at the same time. So that can be really fun as well. But you're starting to see some really, really innovative toy designs now, which is kind of fun. Let's see. So now I'm going to teach you a little bit about the G-spot. All right, so if you look at this picture right here, we have the clitoris. Directly under the clitoris, there's almost like a little circle. Let's see, I'm holding the mic and the picture right there. This is the urethral opening. It's directly connected to the G-spot, and that's why I pointed out. And then here's the vaginal opening, right there. And then right here is the perineum. 8 different muscles coming together at this point. Tapping, like I'm doing right now, can feel really amazing right here. To set a vibrator, like a little finger vibrator, up against that spot can feel really amazing. If you're having sex with a penis or a toy, and you're going in and out, take your penis or your toy and push it down, and push against those muscles. That can feel really, really amazing, right? But now, the big thing I wanted to show right here is this urethral opening. I'm going to show you a side view of the female body. Okay, here we go. I need a mic stand. Got it. All right. So here is the side view. Here's that clitoris up here. Here's that urethral opening. The fingers are in your pussy. You are here, like a mall map of your vagina. There's that perineum at that point. The thumb is on the clitoris, multitasking. We think that's awesome. The smiley face there. Okay. Now, what people don't realize about the female body is that as females, we have as much erectile tissue in our bodies as guys have. But for guys, it's a little bit easier to understand because most of their erectile tissue is outside their body. This is my penis, right? There it is. It's green. But guys have this advantage where they can see their erectile tissue. They can touch it. Consequently, they have a really clear line of communication between their erectile tissue, their cock, and their brain, right? But for females, our erectile tissue is inside our bodies. We can't see any of it. You know, we can't reach all of it without the help of a partner or a toy for most women. And then nobody tells us where it is. So what happens is women have a much more abstract relationship with their own pleasure anatomy because no one explains this stuff until you have a run-in with me. So when you think about a guy's erectile tissue, here's his penis. His urethra runs straight up the middle, and then it's completely wrapped with erectile tissue. Right? So the same thing is true for the female body. Here's that female body. There's that urethra. It's completely wrapped with erectile tissue. Right there. Okay, completely wrapped with erectile tissue. So it's right at the belly button, navel side of the vaginal wall. So every single woman has this erectile tissue. Every single woman has a G-spot. Sometimes it's called the urethral sponge or the female prostate. 3 different names for the same part of the body, but every woman has it. But how we respond to pleasure is different for every woman. So it's erectile tissue. You have to be somewhat sexually excited, or your partner does, right, before you go after it. If you try to find it in the shower, you're not sexually excited, you won't feel anything. But you have some energy, some sex play happening, so you have some energy and blood and oxygen pumping into the pelvis. You go in there with your fingers, and you do like a come here motion, a deep tissue massage. And then some women may be like, oh, there it is, I feel it, right? So say I have a second woman. She's just as sexually excited. Right? I'm not saying I did this, maybe I did. I'm not saying if I did or not. But you have a second one, she's just as sexually excited. You go in with your fingers and do that come here motion, and her response may be like, huh, you can do that all day, nothing. Right? The third woman, go in and do, the third one. So you go in and you do the same motion, same deep tissue massage, and her response may be like, ow, that's irritating. 3 completely healthy, normal responses to G-spot sensation. There's no one way that we're supposed to respond to anything. And I oftentimes compare it to our feet. Like some people can sit down and have their feet rubbed for an hour and they love it. Other people are like, don't touch my feet, right? Because that's just how their body's wired. And there's no reason that your pleasure anatomy should be any different. From your G-spot to your clitoris, to your nipples, to your shaft, or any part of your body. So, you know, when you read about these G-spot orgasms online in the magazines and things, they act like everybody should be able to have this astounding G-spot orgasm. Some people will, some people won't. It can still feel good for some people, and other people don't like it at all. Go to where the pleasure is. Do what feels good always, and fuck the rest, all right? So, you know, a really good example of where the G-spot is this toy right here. And there's a few of these up against the wall over here, and this is a, you know, sometimes it's called the Orchid G or Slimline G. And a lot of times a person will look at a toy like this, and they'll think, I'm going to work this in and out of my body. It's phallic, right? But in truth, you just put this part in, and all the rest of this is handled. And then you rock it towards the belly button. So belly button to perineum, like that. Or you do nice, tight, short strokes. And that's how you get G-spot sensation. If you're going to use your fingers, use a lot of pressure. You can really fuck us, you know? Sometimes people, they're in there, they're like, how's that? Is that great? Well, you know, if she likes it, you know, a lot of women are only going to respond to this kind of play with a lot of pressure, a lot of, you know, deep tissue massage. So if you're not finding the G-spot, and you may want to try playing harder and rougher, or getting something that is thicker, or this is hard. You know, some of the toys out there are really soft, and you're not going to get that deep tissue massage with something that's really, really soft and pliant. If you're having intercourse and you have a penis or something shaped like a penis, like my pink penis here, It's actually the corona right here that is made almost as a speed bump for the G-spot. And so a lot of times when we think about intercourse, we really concentrate on the in-stroke, and it's actually the out-stroke that gives more G-spot sensation. Because on the way out, the corona right here kind of rubs up against the G-spot there. If you have a curve in your penis or your toy, I want you to think about putting that curve towards the G-spot as well, and that's going to give you more G-spot sensation. The thicker you are, or your toy is, the more G-spot sensation you're going to get. The next thing I want to show you is actually the rabbit. What made the rabbit famous? Anybody know? What? Elmer Fudd? Correct. All right. What made the rabbit famous? Sex and the City. So it debuted on Sex and the City, I don't know, like 10 years ago. They had an episode where they had to do an intervention because one of the women became so addicted to the rabbit that her friends had to stop her from using it. And I'll tell you, some people love the rabbit that much that they actually do. They'll come in and buy 2 at a time, just in case something happened to the first one. They're like, I'll never sleep again, you know? So, now, the original rabbit was made in Japan, so they had a really great understanding of pleasure anatomy. In Japan, it's illegal to make anything that's shaped like a penis to this day. So what they did is they put a little rabbit on there, and they're like, what? It's not a penis, you pervert. It's a toy, you know? And so this goes inside the body. This goes over the pubic bone towards the clitoris, and you can see where these beads are flared right at the G-spot. So it's a perfect G-spotting toy right there. And it spins around like this, and then a second motor makes the rabbit go. So it's not really a great couples toy because she'll forget you're in the room. You know? But it is a great gift. Okay, so any questions so far? Doing good? You're all right, Miami? This is my first time in Miami. You're popping my head. Yeah, please.
Out of curiosity, I like that.
For a friend.
Wait, what's the reason why, when you're performing oral sex on cutout, and you breathe a hot breath onto the clitoris, why does it feel the way it feels?
For the giver or the receiver? Well, it's a sensation, so the heat is what is what they're feeling. I think hot breath through panties can feel really, really amazing, like just to blow warm breath at the clitoris can feel really amazing. You're just lighting up nerves in a really light way that's not like thumpy or tickly. You know, I think a lot of times when people go after the clitoris, they get really tickly, you know. And so it's just another sensation that can be really amazing. Then again, somebody else is going to be like, don't do that to me. And that's how their body's made. That's what they like or don't like. So you really have to take people for who they are and what they are and where they are. Yeah. Any other questions at this point? No? You guys having a good time? All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit more. I'm going to talk about one other thing that's going to make your orgasm or her orgasm as badass as it can possibly be. Then we'll take a little break, and then I'm going to talk about some edgier stuff. So we'll take like a 15-minute break. You can come up. I'm happy to sign books. I'm happy to answer questions if you don't want to say it in front of the whole group. It takes a lot of courage. Thank you. You can come up and ask me questions too. I'll just be hanging out. So let's look at this part of the body. It's really amazing. If you remember nothing else tonight, what I want you to remember is what an orgasm is for a person of any gender is a series of involuntary muscular contractions. Okay? Doesn't matter how it's triggered, from the clitoris to G-spot sensation to anal sex, to nipples, to clenching muscles, however you, from your shaft, however you drive that orgasm, it's always a series of involuntary muscular contractions. If you're sitting out there wondering, you're not sure if you've ever had an orgasm, if you feel some muscular fluttering, that's your orgasm right there. For other people, it's these deep, profound, huge muscular contractions, and that's what I'm going to try to teach you how to do now. So, these muscles, they run kind of like a circle 8, right? Like this. So your butt's part of this muscle group. The vaginal muscles are part of this group. The muscles that stop and start the flow of pee for everybody are part of this group. And then they also go up into our thighs like this. So these are not cat whiskers, all right? Those are muscles right there. And so the bigger the